Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, along with my hetero life-mate, Mr.
Russ.
And we have two special guests, returning guests, or actually, should I say...
We're returning?
We're returning to them.
It's collab number 2.
I'm returning.
You're returning.
He's returning.
Right.
This is my first appearance on the Comic Cave podcast. It's Lil Oil Spill, here accompanied by Comic Cave as well as my co-host, Benji said it.
Benji said it already.
Now, coming up on today's episode, we will be discussing We Don't Care, because we're taking a page from the Fuck You podcast. What is it called again?
What's the fucking
What's the fucking point? So we're going to do that today, coming up next. Hello everyone, we're back, Comic Cave Podcast. What is the fucking point? So today we're not going to have a subject for you guys. Russell, what do you want to talk about?
I thought we did have a subject.
We did have a subject, but I like to take...
You're going to take a lesson from their roots.
Oh. I'm going to go Canyonero on you guys.
But like I wanted to be, because I love the last conversation that we had with these guys. It was on their episode, and y'all have a reputation for going off the rails, and we definitely went off the rails.
Yeah, that one is actually one of the ones that I was like, oof. Like, that was one of the ones I was like, we went in terms of going off road, we went down the valley.
It was a good conversation. It was a good conversation.
I really enjoyed that one.
But I like being a little philosophical with some of my conversations and some of my topics, and we've had some good episodes on that. And like, you guys think deep, so I want to have a deep thinker, but I don't. Be honest, I don't know, because what are we doing?
Deep thinkers.
You have to cut this.
Well, the topic that we had for today was we are living in the age of the anti-hero. Or at least we've been living in the age of the anti-hero, because there are no good bad guys anymore. Good bad guys. Oxymoron?
Good bad guys. Good guys that are bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Everyone has a redemption story. Everyone has like a, hey, maybe...
Even bad guys have redemption stories.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the bad guys have a redemption story. Yeah. Or you get why they do that. Thanos was fucked up for what he did, but you understand why he did it. The Joker was one of the biggest redemption stories. Yeah, right. Right. We gotta save the universe. Also, I mean, you have Bane.
Justice for Thanos. Right?
Justice for
Thanos.
And but who was an idiot about how he went about that, though?
What do you mean?
And this is the whole. Look, let's get segued. Let's get sidetracked. But he wipes out half the universe. Half the universe is just gonna repopulate.
I mean,
actually, over time.
Yeah, but like then you're right back where you started. What are you gonna do? Go gather the Infinity Stones again?
Genghis Khan did. He was just
but I don't know, because even what's it called? Falcon and the Winter Soldier hinted to there was a populace that actually liked what it became.
But
afterwards.
that's just because they're not thinking it through.
That's right. No,
everyone likes to be anti.
Exactly, that's the thing. And that gets to the point of what you're saying, is the anti-hero is popular now.
But I'm saying, why is that? Because it's why does everyone need a redemption story? Why can't there just be a Homelander? Because Homelander's great.
But even Homelander in the show is getting a redemption story now. We're going sideways. You watch The Boys?
I got 2 episodes in, and it was just a little too dark for me. I'm very much like a wake up. The
first couple episodes are intense.
That's what I mean.
The first episode of this latest season is very intense. Have you seen it? Dang. All right, we're going off the rails. Y'all can't keep up with us.
But I mean, even just talking about the anti-hero, right? So I've been right now getting a lot into archetypes.
Yeah.
Right, and character development and stuff like that. And one of the things that I realized, and this can go all the way back to mythology, but even now with comic book characters, right? Is that somebody comes in and actually thinks about this character first. It's okay, what is this character going to embody? And that's probably the most important thing, and they do that both with just regular full-bodied heroes, full-bodied villains, anti-heroes. A term that I like is the anti-villain as well. You have to think about them.
What is an anti-villain? I haven't heard that. Chaotic villain?
To me, an anti-villain is
because that's the grid that I know about, is you have true neutral, neutral or whatever, chaotic neutral.
Oh, y'all are playing D&D. I'm in tune with the D&D world. I know what's going on. I know.
But that's the grid that I know of. So yeah, when you say Would you say evil? You said...
I said anti-villain.
Anti-villain. Well, yeah, what do you mean by that?
It's hard for me to like fully describe what I mean by anti-villain, but you have like your actual like bad guy, right? Like, okay, well, we just mentioned...
Do you mean a villain that's trying to do the right thing, though?
A villain who thinks
more like he's a
right
villain
thing.
like that is a villain more out of like circumstance, not so much because he's just bad. Just kind of like there's an anti-hero.
Like the Batman, he's a reaction to what's been going on in Gotham.
Yeah, so he is more of an anti-hero archetype rather than an actual hero. If you
I would
compare
say
him to
Red
Superman.
Hood is the anti-hero there.
Red Hood took it even further, right?
He's like the Punisher. I wouldn't say really.
Yeah, well, like usually
I guess he could borderline.
I've always broken it down like this. Like to me, and it's just, and I know it's kind of like a very simplified theory or way of looking at it, but I've always said like there's two basic archetypes for heroes. You have Superman and you have Batman. And if you look at every other hero, some form or way, they're an offshoot of these two. If you look at Red Hood, he's an offshoot of that. He's just like, well, what did Batman
that's
actually
because
kill?
that's his sidekick.
True, but even like say like Spawn, right, which is my favorite. What's his name? In his actual memoir of him said it's like I want a hero like Batman, but that's willing to kill. Like we'll go further than Batman will. So he even says
Saying Todd McFarlane did that?
Yeah, Todd McFarlane's actual words, and so he's he is heavily influenced by Batman in a certain sense. And I think most of the time you look at most archetypes, even if they're subconscious, like they're kind of come off of these two.
Right.
Right? Like they're either like 100% good or like they're I guess for a way to say like the logical good. Right? If you look at Batman, it's like, okay, I'm
the
good.
Classic good or whatever. But yeah, that's the thing, is Batman won't kill. That's why when I describe like what an anti-hero is, I think it's a hero that will do shit the gritty way and is willing to kill. I think that, but that is, I guess the question is, do all anti-heroes kill? Or can you be an anti-hero and not cross that line?
I think so. I think so.
So you would say essentially Batman because he's willing to
I think
somebody
he's
beaten, bruised, and almost dead.
Yeah, I kind of see him as the initial archetype of the anti-hero, and then it grew from there.
Gentlemen, how do we feel about political movements getting their greasy fingers into pop culture and also comics which kids read?
Oh, I love it. I'm all for political propaganda leak. I'm all for it.
I mean, when is it...
Contaminate the kids, man.
When can we say, like, hey, kids, leave these books alone because kids read these and, they're going to get these ideas, and some of them might not take to these ideas very kindly and might, hey, you so-and-so, your stuff is in my comics, I don't agree with you, beat the shit out of you, or worse, kill somebody. How do we feel about that?
Well, I think I think we lost a generation with Animal Farm and with Mein Kampf, two great political propaganda. No, I'm sorry, I went too dark. Okay, back to what Russell was saying.
Animal Farm's a great book.
Great book, but communist.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Which one?
Animal Farm?
Animal Farm wasn't communist. The whole thing was that communism doesn't work.
But it made communism. Yeah, it's still propaganda. Well, I guess it would be propaganda against communism. Yes. So that makes it even worse.
So then the question is, what Chris is talking about, like, you're saying that you're for propaganda, but you don't read a whole lot of comics. A lot of the comics that are coming out right now are more liberal.
Yeah.
So
it's been weaponized.
Are you still cool with like?
I feel like they are.
Whether you agree with the political standpoint or not, like, if you don't agree with it, is it still not an issue for you?
I don't think it's an issue for me, just in a manner of it's like the same argument that, like, oh, you watch horror movies, you must be like a sadist or whatever, but it's really like it doesn't matter the actual context of what is going on in the show what is going on in the show or the comic unless you take it into your own life. And I feel like that's where the line gets muddy of, like, people take shit too seriously. Like, they take, like, what is supposed to be fantasy as not fact. Like, obviously, like, they don't think this is going on in the real world, but they now, with that new frame of reference, they bring it into their life.
Okay, I want to try to. I like what you put down here. I'm gonna try to figure out how to get a good gauge out of you, because you're somebody that doesn't read comics. Like,
correct.
Okay. So your opinion on the current comic climate culture, so to speak. And I'm going to try to say these situations as non-biased as possible.
Okay.
But because I do have my own bias towards it. So to be able to try to say it in a way that's very neutral so that you can give your honest feedback on it.
Okay.
So like as an example of kind of what's going on right now, you have Superboy and he is now gay. You have bi. Sorry. I'm not trying to be politically incorrect. My bad. He's bi. Then you have Tim Drake, which is one of the Robins, who has a history of having a relationship with another Robin named Stephanie Brown.
Okay.
And he is now bi or gay. They have a lot of characters right now that have a history of being one way, and you could argue and you could say that that is because that's how most comic characters were written at that time. They're not all of them. I'm trying to not be biased within this statement, but that would be the argument that I think that people would be saying, right? Okay. Is that they have a history of straight white male, like traditional type of stuff,
and
right?
now they're trying to diversify.
So now they're trying to diversify, and they're taking these characters that have that history and changing it.
I think changing the history of the characters is an odd way to go about it. However, I'm not upset.
Okay. Well, then, in that defense, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but they're not necessarily changing the history. They're adding to that history now and changing the character.
See, I think that just goes to the creators trying to be more relevant any way they can. So it's like preaching to the choir. It's like what do they call it? White knighting? What do they call it? Whatever, like soapboxing. No, like standing on your soapbox and be like, I agree with everything that's going on in society now. So much so, I'm going to bring it into the art. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's wrong in nature, but am I upset with it? No. Everybody does something grimy to try to be relevant.
So our argument or our side of this is that, well, one, there are characters that were already gay or minority of not just your sexuality, but minority based in general, like race, gender, whatever, right? That is my battery cutting out on me.
What I'm saying is, why make it the forefront of the story?
So yeah, that's our point in general. Not even just that. It's we're getting to audio based, I guess, at this point. I'll cut this shit, whatever. All right. Audio adventures. Anyways, lose my train of thought. Yeah, they don't have. Fuck! I lost my train of thought.
Why make it the forefront of the story? Why can't it just be like, hey, that dude's that dude, that chick is that chick?
That's what I was gonna say. So there are some characters like Milestone as a whole is based on minorities. Like that's what that Milestone universe. So Static, Hardware, Icon, the Blood Syndicate, like these were all minority groups. So there are comics beforehand, and that was back in the 90s when that started, that did shine a light on these things. And that's not the only one. I'm only bringing up that one because it is back in the talks now with AT&T and that. So like and there were characters that were gay, like Hulkling and Wiccan and things like that, right? So like they have characters, and they could make more new characters. So the fact that they're just turning these already popular, and it's not even popular characters, they don't have the balls to actually make like, Superman or Batman gay or whatever, although they did kind of allude to some shit but with Batman recently, and then they took that away, being like, oh no, he was just playing a role to get what he needed. Well, but you guys get what I'm saying, though. It's more of like these other characters are still tied to larger names, therefore it's a brand that people recognize, therefore it catches headlines, therefore I think they are getting more recognition off of like social media and stuff, and I think that they actually get funding from the recognition that they get off of social media and stuff, because that's advertisement and shit.
Well, to unpack a lot of what was said, you said some things, and you said some things, right? And you said some things, right? First and foremost, right? Like to kind of like generalize with Brandon.
Don't generalize me.
All right, no, generalize with. All right. So on a general level, I don't mind people putting in their political ideas in their art. Mm-hmm. It's their fucking art. However, and this is where I side kind of with you guys in general, which is I think what we're getting to, is that people are taking something that was already made and trying to say like, oh yeah, but it's this now.
Trying to spend.
Which is lazy. If you did that to any other form of art, it's lazy art, and therefore it's not even good art by this point. It's legit lazy. I just talked about archetypes, and generally when you make a character, you think about this character beforehand. Mm-hmm. The writers who are doing this to these characters aren't even the original writers. It's like if Todd McFarlane came out and said, "Oh, you know what? Al Simmons is gay now." Like, that's a little different because he made him.
Right.
But if somebody else said, like, oh, I'm going to take Spawn now, and like, oh, you know what will be cool? He's going to be bi.
Right.
Like,
do you mean like someone else?
He's going to be Hispanic instead of black.
Yeah,
right?
like, it's somebody else taking something that was already made. Like, they took somebody else's art form and just changed it to impose their political view on it. And
something like Star Wars.
Lazy. Yeah. Exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happened. And it's lazy. Nobody likes it because you can see that the person who actually did spend their time building this character up.
See, and I agree to that.
Shitted on.
If you, I mean, I get it, straight white man, whatever. This is not, I don't know, but.
Don't apologize for your skin.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm just saying that's the argument that people are gonna make. So
okay.
Who's me? Anyways, but like I think that I would feel insulted as a minority to not get an original character that gets built up and gets its own hype. Like, you feel the need that you have to hide behind another already established white male character. Like,
yeah, well, I mean,
can't you? I get what you're saying on saying that it's lazy. Like,
yeah,
it's because, oh, look, this brand already sells. Let's just go with that.
Well,
exactly.
Let's just change the target audience of the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then, like,
or try to.
You just kind of reset something that you said, right? But it just slipped my mind. Maybe it wasn't important.
Now, Benji, you're a newcomer to comics, right?
It's not that I'm a newcomer. I'm a newcomer to, like, being around other comic guys.
Okay.
All right.
So how would you feel with all these political movements and all these political things, and them changing the character from the past to whatever it is now to whatever is relevant? How do you feel, like, let's say if a kid comes along and, like, starts reading what today's novel and today's things are, and that's not the original intent of that character?
Like, how do I feel about that? Like, it just goes back to that, to, like, what I said. Like, the art has already been diluted. Mm-hmm. So they're getting an inferior product.
Like you say, some kid watches Star Wars, the sequels.
You say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you say inferior product. By that, you just mean, like, this is a question statement, not true to the original creator's design.
It's lazy. The fact that it's lazy. If somebody said, I don't have the balls to make my own original character that is already the way I want them to be. So I'm going to steal somebody else's character. Or I'm going to...
okay, so devil advocate on that, though. We're talking about Marvel and DC. Mm-hmm. They don't have... They do every now and then get new characters. I'm not saying new original, whatever. The last one that I can think of is Ghost... Was it Ghost Hunter from... Or no, Ghost something. Why is my mind going blank? It was in the last the Joker War series with Batman. Anyways, they do get new characters from time to time, but it's not a lot of new characters. It is a lot of new writers coming in and writing these stories and stuff. So, yeah, you're saying it's lazy, but is it? Would you say it's lazy from the artist standpoint, or really is it just the corporation as a whole, DC and Marvel, being like, no, these are the brands that we have to push?
I mean. It doesn't. To me, it really doesn't matter who it's lazy from, right? But, like, the way a lot of it is feeling, though, is that it feels like Marvel and DC are hiring writers that will do this, rather than writers that are willing to at least question it or find a way to, like, oh, how can we do this without fully shitting on the character? So I think it goes both. It's on both sides of the issue.
That is the statement. So, like, anime and manga, this has been a conversation that we've talked about with other guests and stuff frequently. So if you keep up with Comic Kid Podcast, you already know where I'm about to go with this. But manga is outselling American comics and by, like, a landslide. And it's been like that now for a couple of years. And there's a number of reasons for that. Some say it's because there's not really political stuff within it. And there are characters that are trans and bi, and there are those characters of different races that just.
But it's not the forefront.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they are main characters. So
no, but I'm saying it's not. They're not.
That's
pushing,
not
like,
the focus.
Right.
Of it.
Yeah.
It's just that they happen to be these things. Like, an example of a comic that's about to get popular again right now, or a manga that's about to get popular again right now, would be Hunter x Hunter, and Killua, one of the main characters, his little sister, brother, or sister, is trans. So yeah, I'm going back.
I know. I just like brother, sister, brother.
So born a boy and is a girl. So like that came out in the 90s and type stuff. So like people are more. You look at Jesse and James from fucking Team Rocket, right? Like cross-dressers, right? So and arguably more than that, depending on. Well, yes, because like, Jesse always dresses as a girl.
But they were doing
it. Always dresses
but they were doing it to be fiendish. They were not gay.
But here's they were cross-dressing every episode. You really think that it's that simple?
Well, I don't remember them cross-dressing a lot.
No, they did almost every time they would go into costume as well. Whenever they would pop out at whoever.
James was a girl and Jesse was a guy. Every single time.
That's something I never even picked up on until you just pointed it out. That fucking James would always whip out an umbrella and twirl it.
But as you're saying, you don't remember it because it wasn't like.
It wasn't at the forefront, just like you were talking about.
So wait, what are we saying here? These people should not be represented in media.
No. We're saying that they should be represented. But these are good examples of it done right.
Right. Okay. Like the idea, and I think that's what you mentioned earlier, is like it's being put at the forefront of something. And like one thing that I mentioned before, right? And this is just a general statement, but like if the most interesting about you is your sexuality, you're really not that interesting.
Oh, that's true.
That's a WTFP point.
If your character, the most interesting thing about them is their sexuality, you have a lazy character.
They're selling it on that fact, and that's what I was getting at with the manga and stuff. Is that they do it. And it's not the forefront.
But are we perverting kids?
Whoa.
I mean, so now by this point you go into like philosophy, like a more philosophical question. But
I'm saying like all this media and all this content is in these comics.
At that point.
But like kids are just gonna read it no matter what. It's up to the parents to filter everything out. But are we just gonna stand by and let these companies make our kids into perverts?
You say that, but you grew up with Pokemon as well. Did that make you a pervert?
Yeah, what about Brock and Misty?
What about it? What do you mean?
What about
Brock was always over a female.
Yeah, what about...
Did these things... and that's a common anime and manga trope as a whole, Master Roshi.
Yeah.
I mean,
did that fuck you up? No, it didn't.
Well, I never saw Dragon Ball like that. Or Dragon Ball.
Right, but actually, like, even just to kind of go back into, like, the manga thing and its success... Like, is it not arguable that possibly part of its success is the fact that they believe in, like, they actually,
think about what you're about to say. Does Japan believe in equality?
No, it's not that they believe in equality. It's that they actually, like, really respond to these archetypes. So it's like, this is masculinity. This is this, and they're like, we're gonna just put that at the forefront. We don't care. Like they like almost every anime has like, oh, there's a womanizer character. There's a like pure good character.
And and that's a part of the fun with that stuff too.
We should go back to that.
But
we should it is jokes, people. These are just jokes. But
to come back to the American thing, it's. I want to I guess
your political views are jokes, people. I mean, come on, like we're not.
I genuinely think at this point, because the comics are not selling, anime or manga is selling more than American comics. Comic books have gone up in price, and they're beating. I'm putting that in quotes for people who can't see right now. They're beating records on sales. But that's because they're priced at a higher point, not necessarily because the books are actually selling. Yeah. So I'm genuinely wondering. My thought on it is that. These things do get headlines that get people tweeting about it. That does bring attention to social media. Do they not get genuinely? Do they get revenue from social media posts and stuff?
I mean, we're talking about it.
Instagram does, and Instagram and I don't know about Facebook, but I know that posts that you do on Instagram
can be boosted.
Not just boosted, but they will pay you for that content at that point. So does Twitter not do the same thing? So if you're posting about something and they're getting the dialogue going about that I need to look at these numbers. I think that those numbers might be making them more money than the actual book selling. So they're doing it just to get people to talk because that's social media money. That's
you're starting to sound like a separatist. But Brandon, I'm
just genuinely like that's a thought. I don't know for sure. I need to look into it.
Brandon, you say you play video games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how would you feel if 30 years of video games and Mario's a woman now?
As somebody who's not big into, who Mario kind of passed me, the Mario I liked the most was Super Paper Mario, and that's because of nostalgia. I wouldn't be that upset because 30 years from now, I'm not going to be playing Mario games. I'm not playing Mario games now. I was playing Mario games 10 years ago, so it no longer is relevant to me.
Bros?
No.
Damn.
No.
Not even Mario Kart?
I'll play Mario Kart, but you'll never like catch me red-handed like playing Mario Kart.
Choose a company, Sega or Nintendo?
Nintendo. Well, Sega has Mega Man. And Mega Man.
That's Capcom, bro.
Is it? Okay, never mind. Alright, then yeah, Nintendo, no doubt.
Son of a bitch.
Well, Sega has Sonic.
Sega or Nintendo, Benji?
Sega or Nintendo?
Fucking Christ, I'm in a room full of the devil.
I want that on a t-shirt.
I mean, but like, I'm actually a Square.
Fucking Christ, I'm in a room.
Fucking Christ, I'm in the room.
Are they owned by Ubisoft now?
I think so, because they're Square Enix now.
Yeah,
so
there you go, Square Enix.
But like, I grew up on Final Fantasy, so.
Final Fantasy is turn-based. That's always been too slow for me.
So, but do you feel robbed? I mean, I know you're younger than us, but do you feel robbed that you didn't get to play the greats? You can go back and play the greats, but like...
I don't need to play the greats. You know why? Because I played the greatest game of all time.
What's that?
Skyrim. The greatest video game ever
created. That's an RPG. Would you consider that a game? It's more like
It's a role-playing game.
Yeah, I know, but it's like a...
You literally just said the name.
A game to me is like, you get points, you know...
Role-playing game.
Okay, well then, I played the greatest game of all time. If we're playing off gaining points, Galaga. Galaga is my #1 game of all time if we're talking about this is a game. You know what I mean? Like
you turn your mind off and just...
Yeah, just...
That's what I mean by game, just turn your mind off. These games...
You can do that with Skyrim.
Yeah, but these movie games are...
Okay, experience games.
No, man,
I understand.
Like,
I get where he's coming from on that
RPG games are legit games. That's what I prefer. RPG games are legit games. I fucking prefer...
Is Final Fantasy an RPG?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
then
that's a game. There's point-based and everything, but it's a movie game.
It's a movie game, yeah. I didn't... Back in the 90s, I was like, this shit's never going to take off, and here I am.
Exactly. We're on like, what... Final Fantasy 100 about right?
It's got to be 15. 15 and up. Easily.
Yeah.
So what is your most prized system? Out of all the systems?
Out of all system, the one that is the most coveted is probably PlayStation 2, but the most played has got to be Xbox 360.
Russell?
Most played or most loved?
Most loved system.
Sega Dreamcast.
Sega Dreamcast?
Most loved?
Most loved system.
Probably my PS3.
PS3? Shit, Super Nintendo, goddamn.
So like, and here's the thing, everyone
most
hates
coveted is
PS2.
Most played is Xbox 360.
We all hit different shit. That's wild.
We got range.
Okay. Look, this is actual diversity in the room right now.
Right.
Well, this is intellectual diversity, all right?
That's right.
That's the only diversity that actually matters.
Damn.
I'm not gonna say nothing.
Of course not, because you don't have it.
Damn.
Oh, bird! I'm playing bird.
I love people.
I love people.
Yeah.
That's my way out of every conversation.
Look,
listen, I love people.
I don't know. Like, when it comes to the whole thing, I think, like, when you start looking at the comic book sales, just to kind of bring it back to that really quick, I think it just shows...
What the fuck's the point? Let's keep talking about video games.
Even with games, like, people don't want to be preached to. Just generally speaking, people don't want to be preached to. Yes.
In terms of games being more diverse, what about the new Assassin's Creed having it where you can actually, where not only can you do one of each, you can pick male or female for your whole character, or you can let the animus decide, and then you bounce back and forth between the woman and the male character. So now is that a problem that it has become like
the way you can switch mid game?
Well, no, the animus will decide. So for certain sequences and missions, you'll be the woman, and you'll have certain interactions with the same characters, and then it'll switch, and you'll have different relationships.
What game is this?
This is the new Vikings Assassin's Creed. I believe it's Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
How do they explain that, or are they just not?
There's no explanation. Yeah,
because from what I remember, the Assassin's Creed.
I thought that they were going to be like, because there are different timelines within this, correct? Yeah. So I thought that it would be like multiverse. You're playing a multiverse and like you don't know which universe you're in. I'm like, technically they could do that and it could be cool as fuck.
It was pretty cool. I enjoyed the game. I didn't beat it.
They kind of did that in Final Fantasy VIII. With a multiverse.
Yeah, I don't know Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like
as we're all straight males here, have you guys ever like?
I identify as poly.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Poly means
don't worry about it.
He fucks around with multiple bitches, and his bitches fuck around with multiple.
But you still, your hole's a vagina. Your preference hole's a vagina.
I prefer the nostril mostly. But
as a man, did you guys ever pick girl characters in video games?
All the time. Every time I played Pokemon, I was a girl, usually named Doug. Usually.
No, actually, so like whenever I played Tekken, my favorite characters were always the girls.
That's because they were hot and fun to look at for longer.
Well, no,
That's
like Lily was my go-to character, and I actually invested in her. Like I would dress her up and everything. Like I love Lily. Like actually, like for me, I think what happened is that when I was like growing up, like still in like kindergarten and first grade, you know, Power Rangers was a thing. And like it was me and my brother and my friends, but they would end up being all the Power Rangers, so they always made me the fucking witch. And so what's her name? Yeah, so like I hated it, but like it just one day became like I just got used to being the girl, so it became like, all right, you know what, fuck it. If I gotta be the girl, I'm gonna fuck everybody up with this girl.
But see, here's my thesis. My thesis is when we were kids, none of that shit was pushed upon us. It just naturally happened. So why is the fucking narrative of this generation, everything's being pushed upon them to pick a narrative?
It's just control. That's all it is.
I mean, but why do we need to do that when it'll just come out naturally?
But it won't, because you want to accelerate it.
It's not working because the shit that is doing it naturally, manga, is selling better.
But I feel like when they push it upon society rejects it. We're rejecting it now.
There are people that accept it. Again, those are the social media people and the people that don't actually buy the comic.
Yeah,
those are people who follow the page,
thing to remember, like when you say
it.
like Twitter, right? One thing that people need to take into account: only 3% of the people on Twitter are the ones that post 97% of what you read on Twitter.
Correct.
So they don't speak for the populace of Twitter.
3%.
3%
produce 97% of what is on Twitter.
So nobody gives. So they don't actually speak for the people. They don't at all. Like there's plenty of people that don't say shit on Twitter.
Yeah, they're just
the point of being on Twitter is
humble observers. Humble observers.
You're just an observer.
I'm just retweeting.
So you're telling me that 97% of the world basically are just watchers.
Yes.
You're cucks.
I never comment on Instagram, and I watch.
So you got.
I'm not even on Twitter, okay?
Right, me neither. But that is an important.
Nobody in this room is on Twitter.
That's amazing to me that Benji said it is not on Twitter. You are literally the most tweet quotable person I know.
I actually had a student that anytime I would say something, he will post it on Twitter.
What a fucking clout whore! He's just trying. What a swagger biter!
I know. So this is the truth behind it. I was on Twitter, and then like I actually
got canceled.
I had gay guys trying to hodl at me on Twitter.
Oh,
like that.
You didn't see, the thing with me is
that's flattering.
I wouldn't. That's what I was about to say. I would never go to a gay bar because I would be uncomfortable whenever someone hit on me. However, if I went,
I'm too hot to go to a gay bar.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm a gay bar twink 9. Like, easy, man. Like, I go in there, I get free drinks, but I have to have a posse with me to kind of, you know...
Back up.
Not like I need security. I just need a posse to be like, hey, I'm not into you, but my friend Geraldo might be. Go check him out. But I'll take this free daiquiri. You know what I mean? Like, I'll reap the benefits.
Thanks for the reference. Here you go.
Correct.
That's a transaction fee right there. You said, give me the daiquiri.
I'm more of a gay bar middleman. You know? I'm the middleman. I take my finder's fee. I'm a gay bar's manager. Really, like
A gay bar's manager.
Yeah.
If Elon Musk does actually buy Twitter, I'll get on Twitter.
What are you talking about? If?
Well, he's been talking about backing out. He's been talking about backing out.
Oh, if he backed out, I would respect it.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Like because now the.
Well, no, he was only originally doing that because he sold off part of his own stock because it was plummeting. He was going to put it in something that was more lucrative, and then he was going to sell that off. It was only like from my understanding, it was a passing, not like joke, but like I could just buy Twitter. He could buy controlling.
Yeah, but like he found out like after digging into it and after they already said yes they were going to do it, that they found out that like a good percent of like people subscribed to Twitter were bots, and so that actually changes the actual value of it. And then now you're like, oh, like this is not
so rather than being valued at what was it, 50 billion, it's really valued at like 13 billion with all of this excess that's not real people.
But like now the board is saying like, no, he has to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean...
So he has to buy it?
Yeah, like...
Why does he have to?
Well, like, I think at the stage that they were at, they were in
a they had like a no back out clause. Like, it was like, we're getting...
Oh, he actually started with it.
Oh, yeah. There, at some point, he said that he had the money in an account ready to transfer.
$50 billion?
It was something
along... It was $45 billion.
Oh, I'm sorry. The fucking $5 billion in shake.
No,
like,
whatever.
What it was is that he was pricing the stock like he was basically buying it at what the stock was, but he was overpricing it on purpose. And he was like, this is my final deal. I'm not here to do negotiations. This is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so he started it like that. And then after everyone said, okay, yeah, we'll do it, then he found
he was given new information.
And now he's just like, oh,
correct.
Shit.
It's the same thing as with, not to get weird, but it's the same thing as with the Cleveland Browns and the Deshaun Watson deal. Is he had signed a deal that was $230 million guaranteed over 4 years. And then they were like, but this is barring any new cases. And now new cases came up, and they're like, oh, we might not owe him that $230 million guarantee, air quotes. We might not owe him that guarantee anymore because he broke contract. Because he told them, I'm being completely transparent, and then a new case came about, and they're like, that's not transparency. So it's the same idea as with the Elon Musk shit, but also it's different. It's high business. This is billions of dollars. If you're committing billions of dollars, I am getting billions of dollars. There's no back out. Like, you have to pay me my deposit.
So, yeah, it was a lot. But, like, if he does get it, I'm like, oh my God. That's all I'm saying.
Well, back to comics.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great episode. I want to thank everybody here that joined us on this episode. The What the Fuck is the Point podcast, guys. Where can they find you guys?
You can find me at
WTFP 713 is pretty much everywhere now. I think we are on Apple Podcast now.
I don't believe you because you told me we were.
No,
you want me to check right now? I'll check
it right now. Check it. Look out of here.
Well, they're checking it. Russell, we got some stuff. When is this episode coming up?
It's coming out after Comic Palooza. So by the time you guys hear this, Comic Palooza will already be out, and possibly our 5 panels from Comic Palooza will already be up. I don't know yet.
I want to thank you guys so much for subscribing to Comic Cave Podcast, and also go subscribe to the What the Fuck is the Point podcast.
Every single episode is on. However, it is out of order. But WTFP on all platforms, we're going global. Benji said it in Little Oil Spill for office, local office, regional office, and then we're going to the fucking White House.
You guys might be able to be in the office of the Comic Cave. I don't know.
Oh, we can get on the Comic Cave board.
Honorary, for a moment.
I love the illusion of power without any real responsibility. That's really...
You got a chair while you're here. There you go. That's what you get.
That's it. A chair and a glass of whiskey. I'm here to talk about comics. I don't read them, but boy, am I glad to be here.
Well, this is an interesting question. Before we go, I want to ask you guys, if you had to get fucked to death, which comic book character would you get fucked to death by? Brandon?
Is Donkey Kong?
Dear God.
I think it would.
That boy went brutal.
I think it would be quick. You know what I mean? I'd be fucked to death quickly.
If you had to get snoo-snooed, who would it be by? What comic book character or video game character? It could be anybody.
Video game character, I would probably go with. All right, let's go back to Benji for fucked to death, and then I'll come with Snoo Snoo.
Benji.
Snoo Snoo is fucked to death, bro.
No, Snoo Snoo is enjoyed to death. You know, you get to enjoy.
Snoo is to death, though, because that boy was hanging on the ceiling trying to get away from that bitch.
All right, fuck to death. I mean,
comic book character or video game character?
Tifa Lockhart.
What is that from again?
From Final Fantasy VII.
Russell.
I don't know. You come back to me real quick. Hit you.
Who's the bug bitch with the giant mouth from Mortal Kombat? You know what I'm talking? Bakara?
Not Katana, Melina.
Yeah, her.
Or
actually Aaron Black. I'd like to kiss him to death.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd have to say Betty Rubble for me.
I'd go Barney Rubble.
Betty Rubble.
Barney Rubble.
I would love to get fucked to death by Betty Rubble.
Okay.
Man, if I have to pick, I guess I almost feel like I need to go semi-cliche and just be like Poison Ivy.
No, come on.
Because she's
Adventure out of your DC bubble.
Beautiful woman, anyways, right?
She's only making you think that with her toxins.
But she is supposed to be hot.
I'd like to be fucked to death by Mystique, but played by Jennifer Lawrence. Or Wolverine. They're both hot.
All right, so if I have to go outside of DC,
your
Marvel,
DC bubble,
my normal stuff in general.
Do all 3 Powerpuff Girls amount to the age of 18?
Man, I guess I can go with
think
that.
They do, however, I'll still judge you.
Okay. We're not going to take it. We're going to leave it off the table.
I'd like to fuck the doctor.
Not Chi-Chi? Not, what's her face? Bulma?
No. I might go with
Pi or Pei? P? What's her name?
I'd like to fuck Trunks to death.
Ooh.
Would I fuck him to death or would he fuck me to death? I'd fuck Trunks to death.
You're getting fucked to death.
Oh,
I was gonna go with the one girl, the main chick from Saga. My mind's going blank.
Saga?
Yeah.
Nah, man. Like, pretty much any of the girls from, like, the Final Fantasy 7 or 8 or 10.
Josie and the Pussycat.
Fuck to death by Nappa.
Nappa.
Like, Selena Kyle is up there. I mean, even Rogue is up there, bro.
Rogue would be a good one to be fucked up. What? Yeah.
Should I go with Padme?
Padme? That's hot.
That's hot.
That's hot. Well, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. Comic Ape
I'd like to be fucked to death by Great Ape Vegeta.
Great Ape. Wait, what?
I'd like to be fucked to death by Great Ape Vegeta.
Okay. Is that a thing?
Quick.
Yeah, right?
No, I'd enjoy it. I'd make it last.
And you'd also have to find a blood moon.
You don't need a blood.
But thank you guys so much.
No, I'll show you the blood.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, Comic Game Podcast. Once again, thank our friends over at What the Fuck Podcast. You can catch them on any platform. Thank you, Benji. Thank you, Brandon. Russell, take us out.
Also check out our giveaway. We're giving away something dope. It's popping up on your screen right now. Follow our YouTube, like, comment. The more videos that you comment and like, the higher chance that you have of winning.
Deuces! The more controversial the comment, the better.